much, Dr. Samant Rai, for giving an introduction, which I'm not fit for this totally. And then I'm grateful to Dr. Devasis Pradhan, giving me the opportunity to talk something about the nanoparticle synthesis and the research work, whatever you have done, a part of the research work, whatever you have done, carried out for the last many years, around 18 to 20 years. And a part of this one, I'm going to present it to you. Now, can I make it the bigger one, slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, now, yeah. So, yeah. So what I mean to say, today's lecture, because this is the FDP, Atal FDP and all these things, faculty development program, all the people who are attending this one, they are much more knowledgeable than me, and they are in the different fields they are working. But today you will be getting some food which you are not habituated much. But I think this will be for the change of taste, it will be very good. Always, if you take the same type of food, it may not be. So it will be a little bit different things. Now, we basically work on the biocatalysis, and this biocatalysis, that means it is the transformation of the chemical compounds by enzymes or the whole cells. That means, what I mean to say, that these chemicals which are synthesized by the people, the chemists, or maybe isolated from the plants or the microbes, sometimes they are very much harmful. So, but if you do the biotransformations, that is all types of the esterification, deesterifications, hydrolysis, then isomerization, and so many chemical reactions which are carried out by biochemical reactions, they may be good, potentially good drugs or the drug intermediates. And there are lots of applications, and days by day, as the days are going, most of the drugs are going to be made by these biocatalysis systems. I'll give you some of the examples that you can see, where you can see the drugs you can get non-numerically pure. The advantage of the biocatalysis are many, that mild conditions, ambient temperature, all the things you know very well. It leads to innovative and efficient synthetic route. That is very much important. So maybe 20 years before or 15 years before, nobody could think of that, yes, these drugs can be manufactured by biological means, which is having no distomer, only the enantiomer. And that innovative and efficient synthetic routes are possible through biocatalysis. Simpler and fewer steps, avoid protection, deprotection, so it is a green synthesis. And the green synthesis is very much required. Non-involvement of the toxic or hazardous reagents. So naturally it comes under the environment friendly. Nowadays, environment will have to be taken into considerations. Your carbon dioxide, methane, and other obnoxious gases and all these things will have to be reduced in the atmosphere to release a greenhouse effect. High chemo, regio and enhancer selectivity, which is possible by the enzymes. You can immobilize the enzymes to allow it again and again, again and again. So there is an economy of the whole system. But there are many challenges. One is the turnover of the biocatalyst that will have to be increased. Selectivity of the biocatalyst that will have to be increased, and molecular stability of the biocatalyst that will have to be increased. Actually, lots of works are going on. There is no problem. And by the site-directed mutagenesis, recombinant DNA technology, so many other techniques have come through the basic science. The techniques have come, and techniques are now applied in the biocatalysis. Shortcomings, it has lots of shortcomings, but those shortcomings nowadays, one by one, it is being reduced. Initially, the shortcomings was that development of the biocatalyst is more liable to be by chance and slow. Because that time, from the microorganisms, you are collecting the microorganisms from the soil. So there is no random mutagenesis, there is no site-directed mutagenesis, there is no recombinant DNA technology. So it is, if it works like penicillin acylase. When the penicillin acylase was invented and then it was used it, but today the penicillin acylase is being used for the production of the 6-APA, entirely different. Theory remains the same, but you see, so it is not by chance. Limited range of stability with respect to physical parameters like temperature, solvent, pH, agitation, aeration, ionic strength. These are now the things of the past in the sense, although it is not totally gone, but the things are coming. So it has been a very systematic ways to do it. A continuing problem with the biocatalysis is still small number of well-characterized enzymes. Yeah, it is there because everything you cannot do it by the enzymatic route, because these enzymes will have to be stable. Like lots of enzymes you cannot get it, like lipase, amylase, protease, and there are phytase. There are so many enzymes, especially the enzymes called the therapeutic enzymes, mucopolysaccharide synthesis, mucopolysaccharide breaking down, or cystic fibrosis breaking down. All those type of enzymes, these enzymes will have to be made in the larger quantity, in most purified quantity, and very active. So those things are still to be done, but a lot of things are going to be, they come under the biogenerics. Not many of these enzymes are commercially available, and most of the enzymes which are very useful, they are available in the not extracellular, intracellular. So you have to break the cells, or you have to work with the whole cells. And when you are going to work with the whole cells for any biochemical reactions, then lots of your chemical engineering problem comes into picture. But that will have to be taken care and all these things. Okay, so what we did actually, basically, we did lots of nanobiocatalysis synthesis. Now, nanobiocatalysis synthesis means I'll come to the catalysis, biocatalysis, then I'll come to the nanobiocatalysis, and then nanobiocatalysis, how is going to affect the things. Fine. Now, this nanobiocatalysis, synthesis of the nanomaterials, you can see, you can characterize, you can synthesize the nanomaterials for the plants, you can buy it from the market, you can do, but you have to do the surface modifications. You have to add different types of carboxyl groups or amino groups or whatever the cases may be, and then you make the active catalyst without any your immobilization. When the active catalyst is there, that is in the nanoform, then enzyme you put it, and there are many ways to do it. The enzyme, you can see adsorption, covalent attachment, ionic bonding, metal chelation, cross-linking, entrapment, encapsulation, self-assembly. That also you can do. That is called nanoflower. That will come after some time. So there are many ways you can see, you can do the immobilization, and that nanobiocatalyst now converts the substrate to the product. So suppose the nano is not there, biocatalyst, yes, they will do the same thing. They will do the same thing, but then how beautifully they can do that, you can see in all the things. You can see the publications in the nanobiocatalysis. The publications are on the increasing trend. Of course, it is not updated a lot at 217 up to that, but by the 5 years it has gone like anything. So what I mean to say, that I want to give you a glimpse that yes, nanobiocatalysis plays a very important role in this system. Now, we worked a lot in the chiral eutomer synthesis. All you know from the pharmacy point of view, that enantiomers of the chiral molecules exist as eutomer and isomer. There is no doubt about it, and that is the biggest thing. In 1961, the thalidomide tragedy. But you can see that the thalidomide S form is very good, but the R form was found to be an active mutagen. But when you take the racemic one, then you are taking both the things. So R is doing its own work, sleep inducing, and then teratogenic and all. S form is the harmless and morning. It is just in opposite way. Doesn't matter. So now what is happening? This one form eutomer is good, but distomer is bad, and then distomer will have to be removed out, and that is done by the biocatalysis system. And the whole system is called chiral switch. So chiral switch is one of the wonderful term nowadays. Nowadays it has come out maybe a lot of years before, and then what is going on in this? You can see if you take the nature gives us the beautifully that chirality pool, that all the amino acids which are in L form, most of the carbohydrates in the D form, that is the sugar, and there are L sugars are also there, but mostly at the D. The position of the hydroxyl group in the straight line, in the right hand side of all these things. So what I mean to say, the D form and the L form has created by the nature in such a way that they perform all our works. But chemically, how we can make it? Yes, by recipe mixtures, you can make it by chemical synthesis, in which our country is a great chemical synthesizer. That means they can synthesize any chemical which we want. And then this chemical reaction is kinetic resolutions, diastereomeric crystallizations, and you can get the chirality pool. These kinetic resolutions we do biokinetic resolution. That means it can be done by the enzymes, it can be done by the chemical catalyst. And chemical catalyst you do, that is not the green chemistry, so that's why biocatalyst. And what are the biocatalysts? Nitrilase, hydratase, hydrogenase, carbamylase, pectinase, so many, then lipase, so many oxidoreductase, all the enzymes will come to picture and they'll give you the good one. Otherwise, also you can do the prochiral substrate. Any prochiral ketone you take, that can be asymmetric synthesis can be done. So what I mean to say, that there are enormous potentialities for the things. I can give you it is a very good example is the pipicolic acid. This pipicolic acid is the intermediate or the raw material for the production of anti-cancer compound in cell, and it is the ropivacaine and levodopivacaine. These are all the local anesthetics. These anesthetics, LA local anesthetics, they are all manufactured from the S-pipicolic acid. Suppose if pipicolic acid is not the S1, then it will be very difficult. So what is happening? This is made from a very simple reaction, 2-cyanopyridine. This 2-cyanopyridine nitrile hydratase, it gives you pyridine 2-carboxamine, which is also not chiral. This is not prochiral, this is achiral compound, and then it comes to this chiral. So you can see this is RS. So this has become now RS, or this one, because the chiral center is here. Before that, it was all unsaturated. It has now saturated hydrogenation, and it has become like this. So now you treat with the S-specific amidase. What amidase? You have the S-specific. What does it mean? Now this amidase will work only on the S. R will remain as such. Now you can see this is R pipicolic acid amide, this and this. There is no difference. Only this is RS, this is R. And S has been acid. So this pipicolic acid, this is here. This pipicolic acid is taken. So what the biotechnology has done, what this enzyme has done, that this enzyme is responsible for the production of a chemical compound, which ultimately gives you two drugs. And these two drugs are wonderful drugs, which are of, because you know in the system, which you know much better than me, that all the receptors and all these things, they are very chiral specific. They are very specific in their rotational activities. So they will take only the R1 or S1, whatever case may be. Ibuprofen, naproxen nitride, you can see S-naproxen, S-ibuprofen, they are all Acinetobacter. So it is clear that the chirally pure generic drugs can be synthesized by the biotransformation with the help of the various enzymes. And these enzymes are what? Nitrilase, acylase, hydrogenase, lipase, oxidoreductase, epoxide hydrolase, esterase, transaminase, so many. And these are all the classical enzymes. But if you nowadays, actually, people have lots of work are not being started, are not being done by these classical enzymes. But I'll show you the list of the enzymes: and methyl oxidase, methyl aminase, and actually very specific enzymes which will do the very specific work. And those things from the nature you will not be able to isolate. That you have to go through the genetic engineering, molecular biology, site-directed mutagenesis, and random mutagenesis, so many other things which people do. Everything is going to be done, because there are so many companies. Biotransformation, these companies are not too much in our country, but they are starting. But otherwise, it is lots of other people are there in the Western world. So you can see we did classical immobilizations with the calcium alginate, kappa carrageenan, agarose, and polyacrylamide when we started the work in 2004, 2006. Like that, you can see. But we did a wonderful work from the transformation of manganese-nitrile to mandelic acid. Mandelic acid is the starting compound for the synthesis of maybe a dozen of drugs and dozen of your herbicides, weedicides, all the things. So it is chirally pure. And one thing I must tell you, that any compound, chemical compound, which you can make it by chemical or biochemical methods, but mainly by biochemical methods, chirally pure. This chirally pure has lots of potentialities to be a good one. So these chirally pure compounds, and we did, and then we we produced this one in a small reactor, and you can see this 200 gram of R mandelic acid was produced with 97% transmeric excess. Actually, it should be 100%. That means 100% means 100% pure. 97 means 3% that distomer is already there. 97 is the eutomert, but 3% distomar is there. But it is better than 50-50. So, and then we did it with lots of other things and all. Now, this another one. This is one drug because that was till now it is a very wonderful drug, duloxetine. This duloxetine is the antipsychotic drug, which has lots of market values and all these things. But chemoenzymatic synthesis we have done. We have patented it. We have talked with the industries and all these things, and it went to maximum extent, but it has a lot of in one go it will not go. What is happening? You see, in order to procaryl ketone, in order to make it a chiral pure compound, you start the things with the small ketones, acetophenone, acetylpyridine, all small, and then you come to the bigger one. So this bigger one is DKTP. So that means you can see the structure, very big one, and this ketone is been reduced. Chemically, it comes from the 2-acetylthiophene. So it chemicals, lots of steps are there, and then you can get this DKTP. But it took us 1 and 1.5 years to make this chemical compound, N-dimethyl 3-keto-2-phenyl propanamine, DKTP it is called. And then beautifully it is microbial reduction by Candida bisonata, which is intracellular enzyme. But then it has come to this duloxetine. But it has a lot of disadvantage also. No, not disadvantage exactly, all the advantage, but we not come or we could not achieve up to the scale-up level because the student has to go and all these things. And then the student who worked on this, the Pankaj Soni, he is now in a very big company, the Pfizer, working as a biotransformation scientist in USA. Now, these is you see what is happening as the increase the substrate concentration, your conversion decreases. So that means substrate inhibition takes place. So, and substrate is a very big one. It will have to go inside, divisional problem. So divisibility is a big. So if you can make the cell wall porous, anyway, then the division will take place much better. So lots of your kinetics and other things you can do it. But we published a lot of good papers on this one, a series of papers, and also the reaction time was very high. So we wanted to reduce it. You can see there is another drug which is called diltiazem, and diltiazem, a cardiovascular drug, your precursor is MPGM, methyl phenyl glycerin methyl ester. This methyl phenyl glycerin methyl ester is the racemic mixture, and you transform it by lipase, and this lipase is you buy the lipase from outside, and we have the lipase from Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and then you got this one, methoxyphenyl glyceric acid, and this is actually the intermediate for the production of the diltiazem, and that is chemical synthesis. So it is a cardiovascular drug, and then but what it does, that the lipase reaction it does, lipase does esterification, deesterification, acidolysis, alkalolysis, all types of your reactions it does, and you can see this is the glycerol and this is the lipase activity. This is ester, and then you can see glycerol and fatty acid. So this basically this one, and you can change a lot of things. So one of the students, he worked on this diltiazem synthesis by this, and then another one you can see tachycardia agent mexiletine. So mexiletine, the precursor is D3-phenyl lactic acid. So D3-phenyl lactic acid, if you want to get it, you get from DL3-phenyl lactic acid, you can buy it from market, and then separate it by the Candida rugosa lipase, which is also you can buy it from the market, because lipase is a very sturdy enzyme. You can keep it on the shelf, nothing will happen with the powder. If you can keep it on the shelf, it can stay for years. Although a little bit of activity will decrease, but it's highly stable. And these reactions are done by some of the students for the production of your mexiletine. And these are the benzyl acetate. These are common classical esterification reactions. So, and then another drug one, another scientist, lebulazole, that is also a cardiovascular drug. But this is a little bit difficult in the sense that it has lots of aromatic groups, and then this is lipase trans-esterification reaction, and this is from the your RAC-CDPP, RAC means racemic. CDPP is a abbreviation, and then Desired isomer is R1. So R1, so R you can get it from the racemic by this trans-esterification. Vinyl butyrate is the your acyl donor. So you can get the vinyl butyrate and like this trans-esterification, you can get this intermediate. And lots of actually research activities and lots of other things are there, but all the data I'm not showing you because of the time. Now, another student who is at present working in Hyderabad, and he did a lot of work for the production of the different types of your hypertensive drug, like your ensiplazine, bunitrolol, esmolol, acebutolol, atenolol, alprazolam. All these actually we made very nicely. Intermediates of these drugs we made it very nicely by enzymatic reactions, and all the enzymatic reactions are lipase catalyzed. We had 20 different lipases from different sources. Some are purchased from the market, some are isolated from this one, and we did, you can see, ensiplazine synthesis after this biotransformation. And this the person who worked. He is also now senior scientist in the IICT Hyderabad. And but during all these courses, what we have seen this. We have seen what? No, we have seen, you can see this one, problems with the substrate, problems with the enzymes. We have enormous problems with the substrate because all the substrates are sterically hindered. So enzymes cannot work very nicely with them. Steric hindrance by arise substituted halohydrines. And more or less you can get all types of very big means inhibitions. Longer reaction time. Insolubility of the substrate, they are not soluble in the water. Water soluble, aqua soluble is not there, but they are soluble in organic. But then it is the problem of the enzymes are denatured. Solubilization of the substrate in organic solvents reduces the catalytic properties. And reverse selectivity is often seen. That means what is happening? These like the thalidomide. You make the racemic, you separate the etomer or distomer. Again, one etomer will be again racemized to the main parent compound. So that is called DKR, dynamic kinetic resolutions. That means what one etomer is there, one distomer is there. Again, they will go back to the racemic form. Then that means chiral reswitch. So that means the one chirally pure compound is there, but again it will go. So there are techniques also how to restrict it. These are all the problems. Problems with the enzymes. Whenever you are getting the enzymes from the wild type enzymes exhibited, always low activity because you are collecting it from either microbial type culture collections available throughout India, or from the soil, or from the legumes, or from the whatever the things maybe you are isolating it. They do not have much pH and thermostabilities, and they are inhibited by the higher substrate concentration and product concentration. The substrate concentration will increase a little bit more, they are all inhibited. So what is happening? These nano and genetic engineering both put together, all the genetic engineering things we do not have the expertise in all these things, so we do not go for this one. But the solution is that this type of enzymes, when you are working, you get the enzymes through the recombinant DNA technology, and then purify it, and then put the immobilization on the nanobioCatalysis. Then 1 gram of nanobioCatalyst will do whatever the classical of your 500 grams of enzymes can do it. So it is a wonderful technology to be, but those things are coming up, absolutely no problem. Now, novel enzymes, you can see, this is not the classical enzymes. Monooxygenase, hydroxyamidobenzene mutase, cytochrome P450 you know very well. They can do a lot. Lipases, of course, it is the lipoxide hydrolase, acylase. Acylase is a very old enzyme, but you know, newer applications are coming. Enzyme may be old, doesn't matter, but lots of new applications. Because acylase is an enzyme from 1956, industrial applications of the acylase amidase are there, and tons and tons of amino acids are produced nowadays by all biotransformations. Classical fermentations are now more or less stopped. Chemically, for this production, I'm telling you. So chemically, you synthesize the precursors, and then you do the biotransformation, and you can get the pure amino acids. amino acid dehydrogenase, sulfatase, alkene oxidase, monoamine oxidase, CHEMP eliminase, the CHEMP reaction. But you need special expertise for this. And this will come through the recombinant DNA technology and genetic engineering. Now, so what we started, the things that we wanted to seek the nanobiotechnology. So whatever the enzymes we have used it in the normal biocatalysis process for the synthesis of the precursors of the your drugs, we used most of all of them, mainly ligases, and in the nanobiotechnology. So how we did it? You can just nowadays the nano methods, top down, bottom up. Top down, you can just break. The person is breaking, and bottom up, you make it from the atoms, molecules, and all these things, and you restrict yourself up to what diameter you are getting. You see, in the nanoparticle, when you are synthesizing a nanoparticle, if you take the nanoparticle, why they are very much active? Because the surface area increases. But then the question, surface area increases with the molecules are small, so surface area will decrease. Yeah, but the specific surface area increases. That means the surface area per unit volume increases. So that's why a bigger football, whatever the surface area it gives you, if you make it 100 small football on the bigger one, let us say for the timing, you'll get thousands and thousands times more surface area per unit volume of the bigger one. So total volume remains the same, but the surface area increases. And that is also in the case of cubes, then your horizontal, your rectangle materials, or bar, or your cubes, or maybe in the spheres, everywhere you can get it. So we did not go either top down or bottom up. I don't know, what up or down you can say in the this nanobiochemistry synthesis, the nanomaterial synthesis. We did the bioreductions. You can see bioreduction. So these are the top-down methods. These are your bottom-up methods. But we followed only the bioreduction. What we did, now we have the metal salt, all types of the metal, silver chloride, copper chloride, zinc chloride, iron ferric nitrate, any metal salt you take it, and then you give the reducing agent. And biological reducing agent like NADPH. So NADPH is a good reducing agent. It reduces the metal salt M plus to M0, and it becomes oxidized to NADP. And again, this NADP is reduced to NADPH by the cellular mechanisms. And this is done by the cell-free extract, hydroextract. Organic extract will not work because the enzymes will be denatured. This is the cell-free extract, and using the whole organisms or the tissues. Tissues, you have organisms, whole organism. Tissues also you can use it, but the animal tissues or the plant tissues, if you take it out and all these things, you can do it. But we used with the whole microorganisms, and we use the extracts. As a cell-free Yeah. Hello. Can you listen to me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we did, you
Sir,
can. Yeah.
sir, we can't see the PPT.
Achha, you cannot see.
No, sir.
Oh, what
Sir,
happened?
can you please reshare it again?
Oh, reshare, no? Okay, let me see. Let me see. Maybe something has happened. Reshare. So where it has gone? Oh, that means I have to join again.
Yes, sir. You can. Yeah.
Achha, it has gone disconnected.
Yes, yes, sir. I think it not a network problem or something issue. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It happens some
Yes, sir.
lots of time. It happens. Oh, Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
Now it is visible. So you can see this one, that it happens. Hmm. Yeah. So biodetection process we have used it, and then in the biodetection you can see the biological methods of nanoparticle synthesis. There are three mechanisms: nucleation, growth, and termination. That you have to do it. So nucleation, you can see this one, that M plus is reduced to M0 when lots of N0s are there, and this is done by enzymes, proteins, flavonoids, terpenoids, cofactors, and they all come. Flavonoids, terpenoids, cofactors, they all come from the plant, and these are all from the microbes, and then they can reduce it, M0. All the M0s, 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 and then the growth takes place. And when the growth takes place, then stabilization by those, again, those materials which are responsible for reducing this M plus to M0. And in this way, we have got, but we have taken only the plant mediated synthesis is preferred. Why we have taken the plant? The plant we have taken because the rate of reduction of metal ions by the plant is very high. Chemical methods are mostly toxic, green synthesis by this plant and all these things, and most likely that there is no other way to do it. Only the plant materials, because they are the all nature, and you are taking it from the plants and all these things. So microorganisms are also responsible, but you can do it by the plant materials. It can be done very well. So selection of the plant, amount of the plant extract, how much concentrated extract you are using it. You have to use the concentrated extract. Concentration of metal ions, reaction pH, temperature, and time of incubation. These are the things which are responsible for your making the nanoparticles. Then we used rhododendron doricum flower extract, Catharanthus roseus flower extract, Syzygium cumini jambul, that is a fruit extract, and Azadirachta indica, the neem leaf extract, and Potentilla fulgens, that is Vajradanti, the root extract. But this we collected it from the some of the places in the eastern region. That is Ceylon, from the Ceylon. Yes, some of the students went there, and then we purchased it, gallic and quercetin. These are all actually chemically things, and you are directly purchased from the Sigma. The specific parts of the plants were used for the green synthesis. Okay, now what is happening? How we have done it? You can see this is a very simple method, and the methods were, of course, it took a lot of time to optimize. Whole optimization was done by microbial optimization by one student, and the plant optimization by another student. Selection of the plants, because microbial extraction, some microbial, we did not get much better result, but better result we got it from the plants. So selection of the plants, preparation of the extract, reaction with the metal salt, optimization. That is what optimization, in order to get in more quantity, a better quantity. Optimization, plant extract, metal salt, all these things, and then characterization. And characterization we did it with our central facilities, and central facilities had all the equipment required for the EB visible, GTSizer, SAME, PAME, EBS, all the things. And then therapeutic evaluation using the various assays. That these therapeutic evaluations are done in vitro, a series of studies, and in vivo also. In vivo, because that student was from the pharmacology, so he had lots of your expertise, and he told that yes, he will be seeing all these things. So breast cancer, your cell culture, those things were taken, and then he did a lot of work, and we did a lot of good publications from there. That is the in vitro and in vivo. Okay, so we did, you see the visual inspection of the nanoparticles. If you see, this is the silver nitrate solution, this is the plant extract. So what is happening? This is the nanoparticle, colloidal solution of the silver nanoparticle. You can see, by seeing also, you can see that yes, things have changed. And then you do the scientific estimations. Visual inspection of the, that is the double synthesis, silver nitrate and sodium selenide solution. This is one, this is two. And then this is the solution of the quercetin gallic acid. Quercetin gallic acid, they are all supposed to be good reducing agent and chemically known, because this you need for your standard. And these are colloidal solution nanoparticles. So these are the ways it shows like this. Characterization of the nanoparticle, this I will just go very quickly. UV visible spectroscopy, dynamic light scattering, Fourier transformations, in all this, you can see you have got the nanoparticle, you have got all the terms, and it shows that yes, this is internally synthesized or within the cells are also there. You can see the morphology transmission electron microscope. These are all the nanoparticles which you can see inside. And X-ray diffractions, all these. But this FTIR, from the FTIR, we can conclude very nicely that spectra indicates the presence of the various functional groups, such as amino and aldehyde groups, capped on the synthesized nanoparticles. Where from they have come? Now they have come from the reducing agent. That is the your plant materials. And DSC, TGA, from all these things, all the nanoparticles synthesized by various plant or microbial extracts or phytochemicals showed similar pattern indicating the capping of the nanoparticles by organic compounds. Because these nanoparticles we have synthesized, these are all very stable for few months together. And then we produced it in the larger quantity, because otherwise we'll not be able to do all the experiments. And here 5 parameters were there. You can see, oh, I can make it bigger one. 5 parameters were there. You can see silver nitrate concentration, temperature, plant extract concentrations, reaction time, and pH. And you can see how these 5 parameters have changed with this effect of various reaction parameters. Silver nitrate nanoparticle synthesized by this. Silver nitrate nanoparticle synthesized by potentilla fulgens. This is Azadirachta indica. And these are ways different gallic acid, quercetin, Catharanthus roseus. So all you can see there are many. Only I have shown it the 2 slides, but most of the metal nanoparticles were synthesized in higher quantity by optimizing the different 5 parameters. There's a lot of work, but we did it and we kept the nanoparticles for the other one. So now you can see the probable mechanism, which I have already told you. This is flavonoid. All these are flavonoids. These are alkaloids, terpenoids, and this is polyphenols, catechol, and all these things. Chemical constitution of the plant extract in general. Now, what is happening? You can see the reaction to the metal ions. You get the metal ion particle, nanoparticle, and these are all clapping. And these chemical constituents of the plant extract act as reducing agent as well as stabilizing. That means agents. These are the agents which are working as a reducing agent and also stabilizing. So that means if the stabilization is good, that means nanoparticles are staying without oxidation for some time. Now, this we analyzed it. That is how we have done it. We have seen that we have seen the total phenolic content TPC in terms of gallic acid nanoparticles. Now, this gallic acid is a standard. We have done the standard reaction with the gallic acid, and you can see the total phenolic content were measured in terms of gallic acid only. So you can see what does it mean? It means the total phenolic content of the nanoparticles which were synthesized were measured the way gallic acid is measured. So gallic acid is a standard, and you can see, and this is standard, of course. You can see that this is there, this is there, this is there, this is there, but this is sigma nanopowder, so it does not have anything. This is the maximum, this does not have anything. It is observed that there are less than 10, plus minus 0.1% TPC in terms of gallic acid. So 10% materials are added on the nanoparticles as the stabilizing agent, and it is quercetin. When we have done, then we have a quercetin standard graph, and here again you can see, but here the opposite picture you can see. It is observed that it is more than 10%. A lot of percentages are there. This is a big molecule compared to the gallic acid. It is observed that total flavonoid content TFC, it is called, in the nanoparticles is in the following order. That is, Syzygium cumini nanoparticles is more than gallic acid, more than potentilla fulgens, like this. So it indicates that lots of materials are associated with this, but quercetin and gallic acid is there. And then we did the antioxidant activity determination of all the nanoparticles. DPPH assay, and all you know the basis of the DPPH assay, that what is happening is that DPPH radical. When you give any antioxidant from anywhere, is the plant, then it is reduced to PPH. The color is reduced. Because the reduction takes place here, you can see H is added. So when the reduction takes place, then the color goes. And this is a wonderful way of doing the DPPH assay. Like this, you can see in the DPPH assay, Troxel was taken as a standard, and here you can see that Azadirachta indica nanoparticles, Azadirachta indica, let us say which one, this one, has the nanoparticles, has the maximum antioxidant activity. These also is having, but these are the all less antioxidant. But surprisingly, it has been observed the sigma nanoparticle is also having, I don't know how, some amount of the your reducing activities DPPH. Now, this is ABTS assay. This also this antioxidant, it gives you ABTS. So color, non-color, light color, and according to that, we have taken ascorbic acid as it. And then you can see here that sigma does not, sigma has a little bit, but this percentage comes in percentage, I don't know. The control ascorbic acid is the maximum. And then most of the places you can see gallic acid quercetin is more than the Syzygium, more than the Catharanthus rosas. So what I want to tell you that yes, they have the very good potentialities of reducing activities. MTT assay also we have done it, and these are antioxidant assay with quercetin as a your standard. And here we have seen that yes, it is also there. Lots of your good activities you can see from here are coming. Determine antioxidant activities from this. Then, as such, you know the nanoparticle advantage, disadvantage, all the things you know very well. But we have taken this type of nanoparticles, nanofibers we have taken, nanoporous media we have taken, carbon nanotubes we have taken, nanoparticles we have synthesized. Some of the things we have purchased from the market, nanofibers, and we have synthesized nanofibers, polyaniline nanofibers we have synthesized, but maybe that data is not shown here. Polyaniline nanofibers we have synthesized, then we have synthesized the nanoflowers, but we have purchased the carbon nanotubes, nanoporous media, some of the things we have, and they have lots of advantage like this one. Fine. And then you can see we have activated these gold nanoparticle, silver nanoparticle, and multi-walled carbon nanotubes. These multi-wall carbon nanotubes have been synthesized very nicely. Sorry, multi-wall carbon nanotubes were purchased and they treated with the sulfuric acid, nitric acid 3:1 ratio to incorporate the carboxylate groups on the functionalized multi-wall carbon nanotubes. Why this functionalization was done? Because in order to react with the proteins, so that amino group is there, carboxylate group is there, amide bond will be there. So strong amide bond will be formed. That means covalent immobilization is possible. Here also succinic anhydride we have treated with this one, and we got functionalized nanoparticles. These functionalized nanoparticles will give you the good now system to work with. And you see, this is the things which you got from the earlier. These are the things which you got, and now these are the things actually. And basically, then the nanoscaffold you treat with this one, and you get this. This is the enzyme, and there are two methods by this, and we follow the two methods very nicely. Orthoacyl urea intermediate, we did it, but it is very unstable, and then instability gives you again breakdown. So then we did the wonderful your NHS reaction, which is very standard reaction. Amine reactive NHS ester, this one. This one, when it is forming, you take the primary amine. Primary amine means these enzymes, all enzymatic enzymes, full enzymes. So enzymes and the catalyst, this nanoparticle, which is activated, and this is the this is that your material which you have put it there, and then it gives you a stable conjugate amide bond. The stable conjugate amide bond, you are getting it from this. Here also you should get it primary amine, but it is unstable, it breaks down. So this is this one we got it. And during this process, actually lots of papers were published in various journals. Whatever the findings we get, is to get it, and immediately we used to. And then what is happening, you can see those things we have used it. You can see PFL, Pseudomonas fluorescens lipase, Pseudomonas fluorescens lipase. It has the amide bond. This is carboxyl group ED, CF, NHS, this, and this is the covalently immobilized PFL on carbon nanotubes. And specific activity was in the free PFL 250, here 2771. So it is 10 times more specific activity. It is increased with the nanobiocatalysis. It is without nano. So, and with the DOE optimization, these results I have not shown you that starting reaction time, pH, and all these things, we have done it. And we have seen that when we have done the CRL, gold nanoparticle, CRL, silver nanoparticle, CRL, we did the CD studies. Complete the circular dichromation studies, it shows that MWCNT CRL conjugate spectra, these are MWCNT conjugate spectra, is entirely different. Changes in the secondary structure of the enzyme, this convert the immobilization of the support. You can see these changes, these changes, these changes. Gold, now you can see that's CRL, alpha helix, turn, random coil, all the things here. They are all there, but their percentage changes. So that means there is an immobilization of the support. Here also it shows the conjugate spectra showed changes in the secondary structure of the enzyme. This convert the immobilization of the support. And we use those enzymes. Then we had a standard protocol, means not protocol exactly, the standard chemical we have used, RS1-phenylethanol, that you can purchase it from the market, receiving mixtures, and we have used this substrate for most of the reactions of lipase catalyzed reactions. And you can see we got the R1-phenylethanol and S. R is the eutomer, S is the distomer. And then we have used it for the synthesis of other materials. Chromatogram of RS1-phenylethanol, and these we have optimization in the little bit small scale, and we have optimized in the set flask. What are those things we have optimized? What types of the solvents? This vinyl acetate and all these things. Types of the solvents, reaction time, reaction temperature, acyl donor. Who will be acyl, vinyl acetate, amyl acetate, these so many other things are there. Enzyme concentration. And we have got these results, which is enantiomeric excess for the product and enantiomeric excess of the substrate is really very nice. And then we have gone for the whole cells. These are the enzymes and these are the whole cells. So MWCNT, you put the whole cells without any treatment. Initially we treated with this sulfuric acid, these are so many other things to activate. There are no activation. So this is the absorption. Whole cell absorption took place. And this whole cell absorption has given you the catalyst. And this free cell you can see 17.9 IU per ml, and this is 56.4. This is 60. This is what is that? What is 60? 56. So this is 20. This is 60. So 3 times more. 3-fold increase in specific activity. And so this is the whole cells. Again, another enzyme is taken, NIT, NIT, NIT means nitrilase. Nitrilase enzyme, this is again activated, and after the active EDCH, EDC, NHS means activation. And then you give this. Here also you can see is a 5-fold increase in specific activity. Comparison of the activity of free and immobilized nitrilase. Nitrilase is an intracellular enzyme. You have to break down the cells by different breaking techniques like high pressure homogenizer or dynamil or all like this one. This is also another one. This is oxidoreductase. This enzyme converts this ketone to alcohol. This is called prochiral ketone. That means after the reduction it gives you chirality. So that's why it is called prochiral. You know there is no chirality, but here OH, H, OH, the CS3, whatever things may be, and then you can get S. These are applications of the cells immobilized on the MWCNT for the reduction of acetophenol. Free cells, lyophilized cells, immobilized cells. All you can very nicely see. Free cells, lyophilized cells, and immobilized cells. The immobilized cells will give you conversion. It's very good. More or less enantiomeric excess, although it is much better, but this also works. But conversion is a little bit late. So in the immobilized cells and all these things, leave the nano, much better. This is actually a duplicate. More or less, I have shown you earlier, but this is but here you can see thermal stability studies and dissolubility studies. And this thermal stability on immobilization, multi-wall carbon nanotubes PFL and multi-wall carbon PFL, it has increased a lot. And this recyclability has increased up to 8 cycles. Thermal stability has increased up to 80 degrees centigrade. So all these things have come due to the evolution. This is another one which we have published in Bioresource Technology, and the work was done by one of my students, Divedi and others. So this immobilization was done with the, you can see this is a free PFL. This free PFL is absorbed on MWCNT without any treatment. And again, this PFL, this MWCNT is activated, PFL is attached, activated MWCNT and this, and here it is covalent bonding. There is absorption, no bonding. Both are nanomaterials. But you can see the covalent bonding, 30-fold increase in activity, higher thermal stability and recyclability. Here, although it is nano, that is covalent nanobiocatalysis, that is the MWCNT, 6-fold increase. So 5-fold is more here. Most probably here, desorption of the enzymes takes place. If you do the covalent bonding, then the desorption does not take place at all. It is a very tight bonding. Although it has a little bit difficulties that enzyme activity may be reduced and all this. But this higher thermal stability, recyclability, everything is there, but activity increase is not much there. Although equal quantities of materials were taken in order to compare. This is actually, we have taken the chitosan PFL. Silver, that is the PFL, PFL, then chitosan beads were made, nano chitosan beads were made, then silver nanoparticle, the gold nanoparticle, like this, all these things. And there are many results it has come. This is again this enzyme. Now this is carbon nanofiber. This is like polyaniline nanofiber we have synthesized, but that result is not here. Like carbon nanofiber we have purchased from the market. Without any treatment, we took the SDS BSL, that is the BCL, that is your Burkholderia cepacia lipase. So you can say it was lipase. So this lipase is treated with the SDS, sodium dodecyl sulfate, surfactant treated, and then it is absorbed. So this is CNF, SDS, BCL absorption. So we did the reaction to lipase activity, lipase loading activity, and you can see the 12 hours it has given the maximum loading, the maximum activity, and your lipase activity is maximum here. So on this we have done a lot of work, and we have seen that a particular, this is that we have done with the absorption, this is done with the covalent immobilization. Treated with this, functionalized, EDCH, activated, this, that, and ultimately you get this covalent immobilization. Covalent immobilization you get it. But this covalent immobilization, when you are getting it, here also that same thing it has been shown. It is in the flask and it is shown in this schematic diagram. And then we have used it, you can see lots of difference. It is like the activity is very high, loading is also very high, activity is also very high. So percentage activity is very high. So the covalent immobilization, absorption, activity, this activity, more than half or less than, leading is high. So it shows that yes, and we have done most of the work on this one. This is also another one. Yeah. Okay. This is also another one, optimization of the lipase. I don't know whether how we can remove this one. But anyway, so this FTI spectroscopy, it shows that free lipase, functionalized carbon nanofiber, and the nanobioconjugate, it gives you the same result. But I told you about the CRL other things. And then transmission electron microscopy for all in this. And when we did all these things, then we calculated so many parameters like free lipase and lipase immobilized on carbon nanofibers, SDS, BCL, CNF. Actually, there are many data like this one, but you can see what we did at different temperatures. We carried out the reactions. We calculated the first order reaction constant half-life, del G free energy change, your enthalpy, and del S, that is your del G, del H, del S. You can find it out one parameter, you can find it out another, also you can find it out entropy. And EA, we have calculated activation energy, and deactivation also, which you have not shown it here, but activation energy. In both the cases, you can see there's a lots of difference between these, especially this first order reaction rate constant and the your half-life of that NJ. So here my kinetic parameters also we have Km is this, free lipase, mobilized lipase, Vmax is this, although Vmax has reduced by this, Kcat is this one and this one. So these parameters we have estimated by the Michaelis-Menten technique, the line work, mainly by the line work plot we have done. So this is again another ways of storage stability of free lipase and nanowire conjugate. The storage stability has also increased a lot. This is a particular reaction, lipase catalyzed reaction, vinyl acetate, this, and this is the lipase preparation. Only BCl, SDS BCl, and SDS BCl at CNF. So we can see that there is an increase in this. E value has increased a lot. The chlorofencin is centrally acting muscle reluctant drug. So one of the students, she did a lot of work on the racemic alcohol RS34 chlorphenoxypropanone to diol transformations. And here also you can see the results and the things are going on. So no, I'll just escape this one. This says you the same thing. I'll come to So this tells you that we have taken the RS1 phenyl ethanol. This is the reactions we have done it. So it tells you so many other things about this, that yes, nanobiocatalysis is much better than the normal biocatalysis, and the nanobiocatalysis with the treatment, with the covalent immobilization, it works much better than the adsorption. And there are many applications of this one. Okay, let me see. Yes. Now, we have made the nanoflowers. How the nanoflowers are made, this is also another way. And nanoflowers, this is an enzyme. This is treated with the surfactant. It gives you the activated lipase. Activated lipase in the PBS buffer, you put manganese sulfur solution, manganese sulfur solution, the activated lipase. This you can see, this is a very nice process. There are two things. One, you do the incubation for 72 hours, 3 days at room temperature. Just keep it room temperature. You will get this after the precipitation. Or you sonic it at 33 kilohertz for 7 to 10 minutes. You will get this type of flowers. Now these flowers, these flowers are like this. And nanoflowers have got the advantage that its surface area per unit volume is much more than the normal nanoparticles. So these nanoflowers nowadays are taken for the biotransformation of the reaction. So it is one step. And in all the cases, we have find out the free lipase, all these parameters, all these parameters, and we have changed, and how this were all these things were validated. And this validation, we did it always by taking the one reaction only. That reaction remains the same for all type of work. Applying the care kinetic resolutions of the RS metropolol intermediate means RS any your alcohol, or RS any the racemic one. Mainly the racemic one we have taken it, and we have seen. And now I think we have taken only the this racemic alcohol, only the racemic alcohol, and that is applied to this metropolol intermediate. Then what we have done, this I'm going to finish it very quickly. I'll not make you wait for some time. This is your PDT reaction. And then one of the scientists, he was very much curious about that, why we will not be able to use this, the PDT reaction, photodynamic therapy. As you know, photodynamic therapy means so therapeutic and your imaging and therapeutic agents are both the same, and you can what you do, this is metal salt, metal reduction, metal atoms, this aggregates this. Now, when we put it, either rhodamine or we have used the rhodamine or rose bengal and another one, porphyrin, pyridyl porphyrin that we have synthesized. One of the students have synthesized this one. And this, they have, you can see porphyrin when you used it, and this is nanoparticle, biosynthesized metal nanoparticle. So reduction takes place by them. And but then again, nanophotosensor is conjugated. So, and this we have, actually I'm not presenting all the reactions or all the total work, but we did a lot of work on this one, that how to make the your PDT for. And you can see this is rhodamine, gold nanoparticle, rhodamine, rose bengal. That is what this rose bengal is doing. The rose bengal is attached on this nanoparticle. Rhodamine is attached on the nanoparticle, and then these are how they are tested. Now these are tested with the reduction of this DPBF, diphenyl benzofuran. Diphenyl benzofuran. Actually, what is happening whenever you know the principle of the photodynamic therapy and all these things, you have a nanoparticle, you have the imaging agent, you have that your therapeutic agent, and that therapeutic agent will all be oxidized or whatever things may be, and then your superoxides, and these things will all form, and then what they will do, they will kill the cancerous cells. Basically, what happens, you know very well. And then this is tested like this. You put the laser beam and all this photosensitizer stop solution, it has the reaction takes place, and it has been done. And this work has been published in a lot of work has been published in many journals on this one. And you can see, these are all the applications of this one. And this is actually the colony, and this is the actual E. coli. Another is the Pseudomonas putida. This E. coli and Pseudomonas putida, both the growth of the microorganisms have been shown how they are reduced by the different types of, these are the cells only, is the bare your nanoparticles, the bare CH means your chitosan reduced, that is gold nanoparticle reduced by chitosan, kept by chitosan, but it is bare, nothing is there. Then it is Syzygium cumini, then it is porphyrin, this is rose bengal only. These are, so there are so many things are there, and we have seen that your colony growth is reduced. A lot of colony growths are reduced by this. All colony growths are reduced. When RB at the rate of CH, AUNPS, and here you can see CHAUNP, here it is CHAUNP. So growth is there, high growth. So it is no reduction takes place. But when you make it with rose bengal, you can see the growth is less. So they what these all in all your work done, but no in vitro analysis or in vivo were not done. But these are all we have done it with all these things. So you can see that it has a lots of photodynamic applications on this. So the conclusions, we can do the conclusions in this case, that nanoparticles can be synthesized by the plant extract, and it is a process of bioreduction. It can be scaled up because we have scaled it up. A lot of parameters we have estimated how to scale it up. Synthesis can provide a nanoparticle of a controlled size. Yes, by the jitter size, and we have seen that control size and cost effective and all this. Synthesis requires the optimization of reaction conditions. Applications of such nanoparticles in targeted drug delivery and clinical diagnostics are required in future. They will have to be done. But by the time now I have retired from Naipur Mali and I've joined this Amity University. So maybe we'll be starting the things after some time. Again, based on the advantageous properties offered by these nanoparticles, innovative discoveries in the pharmaceutical pre-formulations, research and development of the medical devices can be thought of, because it has a lots of applications. The green chemistry approach toward the synthesis of nanoparticles. Yes, synthesis is one part, After synthesis, the application. Then applications are then in vitro and in vivo studies. NPs are good conjugatable properties with drugs, imaging agents, and targeting ligands. For the killing of the cancerous cells, then it is one of the best methods where you have no drug resistance, nothing else. Gold and silver nanoparticles of rhodamine B nanoconstruct may participate in the photothermal therapy. In the diagnostic imaging, gold silver nanoparticles are a very good one. Several nanoparticles were synthesized by various plant and microbial extracts, and various lipases were immobilized on the various nanoparticles, carbon nanotubes, and characterization like this. But I forgot to show you this here. Actually, I don't know how I have missed it. My students, all these are my students' contributions, and there is a very big, very nice picture which I have. But most of these students are now placed in the industry or in the academic or in IITs or gone abroad, and abroad also they are in the different industries and doing very well, and it is their work which I am presenting here. Now if you have any questions,